It's time for another WrestlePlanet news update as an AEW wrestler has picked up yet another injury. An AEW star looks set to fight a former UFC champion. And we have the real reason as to why The Rock didn't appear on WWE Survivor Series last night. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel and click that notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. Over the past year, Charlotte Flair has seen her father Rick and her fiancé Andrade leave WWE. On top of this, there has been rumoured backstage heat towards the multi-time women's champion, with many wondering if she will be out of the door next. Andrade El Idolo would request his release from the company in March before signing with AEW whilst working matches in AAA. Her father Ric Flair has kept a low profile since his WWE departure, with it quickly being followed by allegations against him during the Plane Ride from Hell episode of Dark Side of the Ring. This week, Charlotte would speak to the Masked Men podcast where she was asked if she was considering leaving the company, simply responding, "I didn't work this hard to just go goodbye." With some expecting Charlotte to follow Andrade to AEW at some point in the future, it should be noted that the couple may have well split, although this is merely a rumour at this point and should be taken with a grain of salt. The speculation stems from the fact that Andrade has unfollowed Charlotte on both Twitter and Instagram, with the reason for this yet to be known. The couple got engaged on New Year's Eve with no official word on if there has been a breakup in recent weeks. On the latest episode of the Grilling JR podcast, legendary announcer Jim Ross would hint at more surprises heading to AEW following the Full Gear pay-per-view last weekend. On the show, Ross would tease more pieces coming to AEW, with many interpreting this as more debuts and surprises coming our way, and Ross would say, "I think we're just on a really good roll and there are more pieces coming." JR would go on to praise AEW president Tony Khan for the booking of the Full Gear event, comparing his now boss to his former boss Bill Watts, who is known for his roles in Mid-South Wrestling, UWF, and WCW. Ross would add, "I'll say this and I should say this and I know it's going to come off as ass-kissing and it's not. Tony booked a hell of a show. That's giving the devil his due, so to speak. He booked a hell of a card." One of the reasons he did it is because he's always willing to receive the input of talent, and I remember Bill Watts doing that time and time again. I really respect how Tony books and how he booked a hell of a card. Whilst AEW has hit new heights in 2021, it seems Tony may have some more cards up his sleeve. It remains to be seen what these pieces are that JR is referring to, but it no doubt turns our mind to the huge amounts of free agents in wrestling right now, which we covered in a recent video, or perhaps he could be referring to the rumoured appearance of Kazuchika Okada. AAA Mega Champion Kenny Omega was scheduled to defend his title against El Hijo del Vikingo this weekend in Monterrey, Mexico at the Triple Mania Regia 2 event. That said, Omega is said to have worked most of the year with a torn labrum in his shoulder and has worked for months with an abdominal hernia and knee issues. On top of this, he has dealt with vertigo in the ring since 2018. With word of Omega taking time off from AEW television to undergo multiple surgeries, many have expected this Saturday's title defense to be cancelled, which appears to be the case. Whilst the news isn't official, AAA have revealed that there will be some news regarding the planned title match coming tomorrow. Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer also revealed that the plan is for the match to be cancelled, stating that a new main event will be replacing the Omega Vikingo match, and he said, "Yeah, it may happen tomorrow. It's supposed to happen any day now when they will announce a new main event. I don't know all the details. The definite rumor is that there's going to be a multi-person match, but I don't know who will be in the match. But it should be out in the next couple of days, so that match is December 4th in Monterrey at the stadium, so it's too bad he couldn't do the match with Vikingo, but he couldn't do the match with Vikingo, which was Omega's hand-picked match." Kenny Omega has been the AAA Mega Champion since October 19th, 2019, where he defeated Rey Fenix to begin his first reign with the belt. His time with the title seems to be coming to an end, 765 days since he won the belt. This weekend, Ring of Honor held one of their final episodes of the ROH TV show before their hiatus in the new year, where we saw a big title change take place. ROH World Television Champion Dragon Lee would defend his title against the charismatic Dalton Castle, only to be defeated in just under 12 minutes with a new champion being crowned. Whilst Castle is a former ROH World Champion and six-man tag champion, this is his first reign with the television title, ending Lee's 133-day reign. With ROH Final Battle right around the corner, it's likely that Castle will make a defense of the title at the event, although no match or opponent has been made official at this point. Next up, we have some news regarding an Impact Wrestling contract that is said to have expired. According to Fightful, W. Morrissey, the former Big Cass in WWE, is now technically a free agent, with Impact sources saying that the star is now looking for a big money deal by Impact standards, with him seemingly looking to be paid main event money. Negotiations are said to be underway with both parties looking to strike a deal, with Morrissey still set to work Impact's final tapings of the year. This follows his win this past weekend at Turning Point, where he defeated Matt Cardona on the pay-per-view. Morrissey has been with Impact since April 2021, debuting at Rebellion with him signing a short-term deal at the time. There is still no word on a new contract being struck between the two parties, although he does still seem very much part of the plans, despite not being tied down long-term. Now let's go back to All Elite Wrestling, where a wrestler suffered an injury last week on Dynamite. Last week's post-Full Gear edition of Dynamite would see the Butcher and the Blade team up against Orange Cassidy and New Japan Pro-Wrestling star Tomohiro Ishii. During the match, the Butcher is said to have suffered from a torn bicep, this according to Brian Alvarez of the Wrestling Observer. Whilst there is no word on the severity of the injury or the length of time that he will miss, a torn bicep is said to take around 4 months to recover from. The Butcher has only just returned from a hand injury that he sustained in April, with him returning at the All Out pay-per-view in September. Next up, it seems that an AEW wrestler could be set to go head-to-head with a UFC fighter in a grappling contest. Former UFC light heavyweight champion Jon Jones took to Twitter to reveal that he will be competing for the Fury grappling promotion next month against Jake Hager, although he seemed to miss the memo that his opponent is now signed to AEW, and he would say, "Breaking news. I'm excited to announce that I'll be competing for the #1 grappling organization in the world, Fury Grappling. December 9th, I'll be in New Jersey competing against WWE superstar and undefeated Bellator heavyweight Jack Swagger." Hager would chime in and correct Jones and revealed that no contract is in place, and he would say, "First off, it's AEW and undefeated Bellator MMA heavyweight Jake Hager. Secondly, no terms have been discussed or contracts signed. We can talk if terms are right." As well as AEW, Hager is of course signed to the Bellator MMA promotion, where he is currently undefeated, although it can be argued that he's been handed easy fights. He hasn't been in the cage since October last year, with his future in the MMA promotion still unknown. On the other hand, Jon Jones is one of the most well-known UFC fighters, although his legacy has been tarnished due to his actions outside of the octagon, with his fights often being cancelled due to various personal issues. Whilst the fight isn't official, it seems something could be happening between the two very soon. Last night, WWE would hold their Survivor Series event from the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. The event would mark the 25th anniversary of The Rock's debut in WWE, something that would be hammered home throughout the night with video packages, as well as WWE Chairman Vince McMahon receiving a gift from the Great One. Despite heavy teases from the promotion, The Rock was nowhere to be seen, with many fans being left disappointed at the end of the night. In an update from Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer, it would have been impossible for The Rock to appear on the show due to him being in Europe for a movie, and quarantine restrictions would have prevented it. The event would even be sponsored by The Rock's latest movie, Red Notice, with Vince McMahon claiming that he has been gifted a golden egg, which is a prop from the film, before he called Roman Reigns to his office to take a look at it. Later in the night, it was revealed that the $100 million egg had been stolen, with Roman Reigns the prime suspect. That storyline will continue on Raw tonight, night with both Raw and SmackDown rosters set to be present, with the WWE chairman looking to get to the bottom of who stole it. Whether the egg was stolen or was released due to budget cuts remains to be seen, although this appears to be setting up an appearance from The Rock at some point in the future. And before you go, why not check out my video where I discuss what's next for the recent batch of releases from WWE.